Baltimore Ravens 2023 season went 13-4. Let's talk about storylines throughout that season, such as Lamar not getting injured for what seems like the first time in history. Hit me with it.
Yeah, I think his career is only maybe 5 or 6 years long now, but for the last couple of years, the storyline has been Lamar can't stay healthy. We don't want to pay him because he can't stay healthy. And last year, that was not the case. So I think he started all 17 games, and that translated to some pretty good fantasy production across the board. We saw rookie Zay Flowers come in and really make a splash for this team that just hasn't had a great wide receiver option for the past couple of years. So I think that combination of healthy Lamar, a good first round rookie taking some steps, and the new offensive coordinator coming in 2023 was their first year with Todd Monken after moving on from Greg Roman. Greg Roman led a great rushing offense for them, and they stayed on that without him in 2023. I think they led the league in rushing last year.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the crazy thing about the Ravens is that Lamar didn't get hurt last year, but all of the insane plays that he made with his legs, especially late in the season, is really what kept him around, is what it felt like.
Yeah, he was. It was a great year, and I think that's what people expect from him for a 17 game season. He stayed healthy the entire year. Last year, though, running backs did not. J.K. Dobbins, who in his I think 4 years with the Ravens only finished his first year. He ended last year on IR. Keaton Mitchell was a rookie last year, a speedier guy. Also ended the year on IR. I think that one was an ACL. Ronnie Stanley, left tackle, missed time. Mark Andrews, tight end, ended last year on IR with a fractured fibula. So a lot of those. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was definitely the heartbreaker, I feel like, for all fantasy fans, was Mark Andrews just getting absolutely ruined.
Oh yeah, he was close to coming back in the playoffs and just could not get it. I'm expecting full recovery from him for this year.
2024 offseason departures so far. J.K. Dobbins, who cares if he tore his ACL? He's gone now.
He's gone from the team. I think it's a Chargers problem.
Bradley. Yeah, of course it's a Chargers problem. Who else left here?
Gus Bradley, you mentioned, and then
yes,
I've got 3 starters on the offensive line, and we'll come to that in kind of our projections for 2024 because it's 3 starting guys leaving, and in the 2024 additions, I've got 1 offensive lineman coming in, and I think a second-round rookie coming in to play for them. So this was a great offensive line that should take a dip and a step backwards to maybe just good next year.
That is a huge blow for an offensive line to lose that many starters. But on the plus side, as far as running game goes, you have Derrick Henry coming in there. And like you said, you do have some rookie replacements, which is cool. Tell me a little bit about the coaching changes.
Coaching changes. So this is one of the things to look at for any team to catch maybe a team taking a step forward or a step backwards that doesn't really get covered a lot. But in this situation, it's just the defensive coordinator has left Baltimore. Mike McDonald, he's now the head coach for the Seahawks, and they are promoting Zach Orr internally. Unless you're using Baltimore for a defense in fantasy that I don't like to project for. Not a ton here for offensive changes that I'm really seeing.
So looking forward to 2024, we already talked about the offensive line a little bit. That's definitely going to take a dip. So do you think that's going to really affect Lamar's performance? Do you think Derrick Henry is too old and it will turn into dust in week 3? What are you looking at?
I think that line, it's saying that they'll go from great to good or acceptable or very good. Great lines eventually do sometimes become bad lines. I'm not going to say this is going to become a bad offensive line. They still have a great center, a couple of young players on there that are sticking around that they're building around. So, but I'm just not projecting greatness. I think good. Will it hurt Lamar? Will it hurt Derrick Henry? A little bit, but not a ton that I'm really going to ding them. Lamar should still be able to stay healthy. I think we can project I think I would have him as a top 3 QB going into next year.
Where
I
was
don't like
Derrick
to.
Henry, you think, last year? Like, as far as much less this year, right? Like, rank wise for running backs.
He turned 30 this offseason. Last year, I think he was usable. I think he wound up around 1,200 yards, and that's kind of an RB2 range. And I've got him kind of in that range again. He's moving to a better offensive line. He's moving to the number one rushing offense in the league, but I'm not really putting him where he has been before. He's not a top 5 option for me. He's going to be a 15 to 20, a solid RB2 for me.
So,
Go ahead.
do you think that affects Keaton Mitchell? How do you think that looks?
Yeah,
Or does
I think
Keaton Mitchell affect Derrick Henry, I guess is the question too,
I
especially
think
with the age.
as he comes back from the ACL, that's something I will look forward to. That's something I'll track throughout this offseason is how's that ACL recovery coming for him? How's he looking? Is he, sometimes guys bounce back in 1 year afterwards. Sometimes they take a little more time. That's something that in April, May, we're just not going to know.
Yeah. My biggest regret of last season, not drafting Zay Flowers. What do you think his outlook looks like for 2024?
I don't see anyone contesting him for the number one receiver for the team, but I still really, there's a lot of guys that I would take ahead of him. I've got him as a wide receiver 2 option as of right now.
Yeah, that was my big issue last year was I had a wide receiver 1 and then just supreme ass. It's like, well, I could have grabbed Zay Flowers or I could ruin my team a little bit. Most important, I would say, for me personally, second most important tight end, Mark Andrews. Is he going to have that big season that you expect from Andrews at that tight end 1 position?
Yeah, I'm not expecting any lingering issues from the injury that ended his year early last year. He also started 2023 kind of hurt to begin the year, got a bit of a slow ramp up. I think unless we were hearing something during training camp, he's kind of full go. I'm projecting him for a regular Mark Andrews year, which is a top 3, top 4-ish tight end, which changes a little bit as more guys have become top tight end options in this past year, but he's definitely top 6. You should be drafting him. We kind of know what he's going to do, and we expect him to do it again.
Yeah, and for me personally, I feel like tight end is definitely a sort of cornerstone position because it's somewhat overlooked. I think it's important to have somebody who will actually have consistent numbers there too, and so that's definitely worth a semi-early draft pick, which I think is the most vague thing I can say. So as far as what we've been looking at here, O-line might take a small step back. That's going to be something that'll just kind of have to figure out. It seems like the coaching is good enough that they might be able to figure it out, but that's a lot of guys leaving,
Yeah, it's really just a don't be surprised if this team takes a step back from 2023. It's not going to be something that I'm thinking about as I'm statting out players for the year, but when week 1 hits, it's hard to overcome that much change on the line and stay great.
Yeah, absolutely. Derrick Henry, old as hell. It's going to be interesting to see him with Lamar Jackson, coming from the Titans where there wasn't a lot of QB play. It'd be fun if he got into a running back 1 sort of position, but like you said earlier, I don't think
it just doesn't happen that often with guys 30 and older. He can be usable, but it's not something that I'm banking on.
Yeah, probably not going to get 20 to 25 solid reps every single game like you would really need,
Yeah.
As far as passing yards for Lamar, do you think that's going to take an increase, a decrease? Do you think he's going to have to be on his feet a lot more because of the line changes?
It could be running and scrambling a little bit more. This was the 21st ranked passing offense in 2023. I'm going to kind of keep him in that same range. They may move a couple spots back but I'm not projecting them to be a top 10 passing offense. I think they're closer to that 20 bottom third range.
Yeah, but even as far as points wise, he still gets touchdowns on his feet. He gets passing touchdowns,
He'll be great
point wise either way. So
yeah, he'll be great. This offense just doesn't support the way that it's set up now. You're not looking at 3 wide receivers that are usable. You're really just looking at Zay Flowers as a guy you would draft in a 12-team or 10-team league.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, especially with the Bengals coming back, to see if the Ravens get anywhere close to that 13-4 record again, which is wild to look back at.
No, it's an incredibly hard division. I would not put them on paper for 13 wins again.
No, not at
Still
all.
good. Still good. So, I mean,
Still
saying
good.
projecting them for 11 is great.
Yeah.
I just would not write down 13.
Yeah. No, I don't think they would have written down 13 last year either, with just a string of injuries as well.
Yeah, which every year they seem to have an entire room full of offensive line, or excuse me, a room full of running backs get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're just standing back there with a baseball bat, just taking them out of the room.
Just bashing them.
Yeah, just ruining
bashing
those boys. We got Lamar. We got one person with legs. They'll figure it out. Now let's get a 200-year-old running back to replace them.
Very strong knees. They can take a lot of bashing.
Got to get a lot of extra knees in there.